Hey there. Doing some last minute preparation here. You probably saw me pulling the Afghan down from my couch. I'm laughing at my own absurdity right now. I was a little late as always because I have my regular duties to perform before I come on live. So I thought I'm just going to wait till 5:30 so it'll be a nice even time to come on. I mean, this idea of coming on 5 o'clock, it has not been working too well for me, and maybe I need to make 5:30 my official time. Hi, Ward. Thank you for joining. Oh, you're apologizing because you couldn't make last week. You were iced in the Wi-Fi in my neck of the Southeast US. Um, well, I missed last week's show too, Ward. So you didn't miss anything, actually. I did. It was one of those days where I didn't have time to make an announcement, which I know is a common courtesy. Just say I'm not going to do a show today, but I had a commitment to meet with a friend last week, and the day just went by very fast. And I'm looking here. Let's see. Paula Faust. Hey, hello. Thank you for joining also. I appreciate you all for coming on here. Um, I don't know if this is going on for other. Hi, Renee. Let the party begin. The people are joining. Thank you. Um, I don't know if any of you are noticing this, but it just seems like things are accelerating. Life is getting faster and faster and faster. My dear friend, Dr. Whimsy Anderson, whom I do 2 live streams a week with on her channel, The Oracle of Whimsy, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. She is, in addition to being a fabulous naturopathic doctor and a gifted intuitive, quite the authority on Chinese astrology. And this is the year soon to be of the fire horse that we're moving into. So think of that literally as a horse galloping and galloping in flames. And we have to keep up with that. That's going to be the theme of the year. And I certainly have seen that in my own life. And I'm looking here, I'm trying to keep up on the comments, seeing people saying hello to each other. Yes, the plumbing has been addressed. 2 weeks ago, when I last did a show, I told you all that my bathroom was flood. My bathroom and my hallway was flooded in about, I'd say, at least a solid inch of water, maybe even 2 inches. It was really bad. And I was awakened by my neighbor pounding on my door. Chuck, there's water pouring in through my ceiling. This has been my life. This has been my life lately. What was this word? That's what happens when we get older, like getting faster. No, it's more than that. I know what you're talking about time going by faster. No, I mean, it's a real sense of acceleration. Like things are just like hitting me, assaulting me, one thing after another, after another, after another, and where there's not even time to really think or process or even take it in the way that maybe I got a little too complacent with in the older ways. It's like now life is just saying, no, go, go, go. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Take care of it. Okay, the bathroom's floor is flooded. Take care of it. The show with Dr. Whimsy and I a couple weeks ago, we got abruptly pulled off the air mid-show on YouTube for the most ridiculous reason. It was because of a cartoon she ran. Cartoon. Others had played it, but for some reason, we got that thing that we had violated community standards. That happened. Saturday that week, I'm telling you a lot of stuff going on, but this is just part of it. Saturday, there was a movie I really wanted to go see. I don't know if any of you have ever gone to a live Metropolitan Opera broadcast where they show it on the big screen in movie theaters with the full Dolby digital sound and everything. I had never done that, and I would always wanted to experience it because I love opera. Gone to real live operas here in Los Angeles at the Dorothy Chandler. But this was the operatic version of the Pulitzer Prize winning novel, The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. I really wanted to go see that. And it was playing out in Pasadena, which is a 25-minute drive for me. I was setting the GPS in my car, and my GPS started malfunctioning on me to where it was like saying, turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right, turn left, on the same street, and taking me down wrong roads and taking me around in circles. It was bizarre. By the time I got to the theater, I was already almost an hour late, and there was no point of even going anymore. And then I went back home, and even I sort of knew how to get back, but sometimes I set the GPS because it'll give you shortcuts, it'll help you to maneuver around traffic. We all know that. And it began to mess me up even worse, to where what should have been a 20-minute drive home took almost 2 hours. I say that because I got so lost. To where I didn't even know where I was. And in that case, you were at the total mercy of your GPS to get you out of that. And finally, I got back on the freeway. I was in the fast lane, and I had a contact lens pop out of my eye. I normally wear hard contact lenses. People may ask, well, how does that happen? Because soft lenses usually stay in hard. Sometimes you turn your head, you blink, they get a little dry, they pop out. So I had a contact lens pop out on me driving in the fast lane on the freeway. So rendered me basically blind, and I'm not kidding, basically blind, and trying to get over through the traffic, praying that I was not going to get hit and creamed on the freeway. Got home, and I had to make an emergency visit to my eye doctor, my optometrist, because had to get new contact lenses. Very dependent on those because I don't see too well out of eyeglasses. That's one of the side effects of wearing contact lenses, I think hard in particular. They kind of shape your corneas in a way that when you try to look through conventional eyeglasses, your vision is a bit distorted. I'm a professional artist. I cannot have that. So I had to go get contact lenses. Turned out they couldn't fit me for hard lenses. And I said, okay, I'll take soft lenses. So I got fitted for those. But the problem was when they were looking in my eyes, they did give me a full examination. Hey, Joyce. Hey, Kelly. I see people joining on here. Forgive me, please, if I miss anybody. During my routine eye exam, and I'm going to say up front, I get it. I get the universe, God, the angels wanted me to go in for that eye exam, and that's why that contact lens popped out of my eye in such a big, dramatic way. They informed me that I had a tear in the retina of my right eye, and it could have been serious. They said, we don't know until you get to a retina specialist, but the problem with a tear in the retina is that fluid in the eyeball can go under that and create a detached retina, which is very, very bad. So I had to address that last week. I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. It's been a hell of a 2 weeks for me. So I had to see a retina specialist. I had to first make sure my insurance was going to cover it and everything, and thank goodness they were. See a retina specialist, and got in there. What day was it? I think it was last Thursday. This week has been going by so fast, but it was last Thursday. Dilated my eyes, looked in, confirmed, yes, you've got a tear in your retina. And I said, how on earth did I get that? And they said, well, we don't know. Have you had any head trauma, any blows? I said, nothing I can think of. They said, well, you might have been living with this for a long time, but we better address this. So to my amazement, my utter amazement, and any of you who've ever had any kind of laser eye procedures, she said, we can do it right now on the spot, right here. I said, you're kidding me. Yeah, so she said, sign it, I had to sign a consent form, and then she just took me in another room, and, you put your chin in the cup and you look at the little lines, and they just go, tap, 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 and it was over in about 5 minutes. And I said, "You're kidding me. That's it? It's done? You fixed the tear in my retina?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Do I have to be on antibiotics? I have to be on special drops, anti-inflammatory?" No, just go about your normal life. Just proceed forward. You're fine now. So it is incredible that such procedures exist. Um, it was the first experience I've ever had with anything like that. I've never had LASIK eye surgery, as many people do. That's why I wear contact lenses. And a lot of that has to do with because of my age, because I'm at the point now where I need multifocal contact lenses, and they haven't invented a way to do that with LASIK, at least not to my awareness. I think they can do the monovision where they do one eye for distance, one for up close, but my sister told me that that meant sacrificing her mid-range vision when she did that. And I as an artist, I'm extremely sensitive visually, and I did not want to lose my mid-range vision, so that was just never an option for me. So I've always found multifocal contact lenses have been the best compromise. Um, but that's why if you watch me on Dr. Whimsy's show, the Oracle of Whimsy Taco Tuesdays, you will see me because Whimsy loves for me to do the romper room bit. Remember romper room where she'd hold up her magic mirror and go, "Oh, I see Becky. I see Johnny. I see little Joey. Ah, I see Kathy Joe." Well, no, it's not quite like that. And I don't mean it to be disrespectful because I love our viewers and I love my viewers here. So I have to read through the names as they scroll by and say hello to people on behalf of myself and Whimsy. So you will see me often putting on glasses, even though I have multifocal contact lenses, because if you've ever worn them, you know that you have to look through different parts of the lens and your brain has to adjust. And sometimes I cannot look straight ahead and then look at the type and then look straight ahead again. So it's just easier to put on glasses. But anyway, the the tear in my retina has been fixed. And I didn't get killed on the freeway when I was blinded. I missed my opera performance that I really wanted to see. Got my bathroom dried out and the plumbing fixed. And I'm just waiting to see what else life throws my way here. Let's see. I'm missing some comments here. And let's see. Let me go back here. Yeah, Ward. Yeah, thank you for saying sorry about the show with Dr. Whimsy getting yanked, but we got back on, not that day, but the next show, and everything is just fine. But it was kind of weird. I think there are bots, bots on YouTube that just randomly pick things like that to pick on, and we got pulled. Um, And also, I think it might have to do with the fact that Dr. Whimsy and I are getting a much larger audience right now. What I do here is, it's a fairly small audience. I'm doing good if I get between 200 and 300 people for this. And as I've said, I haven't been putting new videos on here, even though I do have a large catalog. And I will get back to that. I promise. That's part of my game plan for this year. But Dr. Whimsy and I are seen on multiple platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, podcasts. So we're getting an average right now. And this blows me away. Almost 5 million people a month. And it's growing. It's growing fast. So maybe that's why we got flagged. More people are noticing us right now, but it's taking off in the most profound ways. And I realize that I need to capitalize upon that and build upon it, and definitely work more on this channel as well. because this is a gift. It's a real gift to be handed something like this, and it's a responsibility, and it's a purpose. And my dear friend Joyce Petrus is here watching, and Joyce, you and I have talked about this. You've even told me about it in my astrological chart. You said that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be right now in my life. I'm meant to be on a public platform. I'm meant to be using my gifts, my talents, my psychic intuitive abilities more, which I haven't done so much on here. But if you watch me on Whimsy's show, that's about all we do. We do intuitive readings about current news events, and also do channeled readings on there. And much of that is because my beautiful friend, Dr. Whimsy, keeps taking me out of my comfort zone. She's the reason I'm even doing this right here, right now. She's the reason I'm doing those shows. She's the reason that I walk so far out on a limb doing things live now. I hear in front of about 5 million people that 2-3 years ago I never would have dreamt doing, because I would have been frankly scared to have done. I don't know that I would have trusted my own self to do something like that. And Whimsy's always said, no, you can do it. I have faith in you. I know what you're made of. I know what you're capable of. And she always gets me out there, always pushes me a little further out of those comfort zones. And that's something I'm profoundly grateful for, because that's something that's quite empowering. And I'm hoping, in talking about it, maybe I can even help empower some of you to find your own strength and talents and powers that maybe you haven't quite recognized, or maybe you've been afraid to use, because that seems to be a theme for many of us. And my dear friend Joyce, who graciously spent a lot of time last week with me going over my astrological chart and some other things, said that it's actually in there, that I'm meant to be sharing my gifts more, helping to bring people up, to really use this in a noble way. And that, of course, is always my intention. I don't have ego about this and what's happening right now with Whimsy. But this goes back to what I said earlier in the show. I feel like this fire horse galloping, things are just speeding up and becoming more and more intense. And all I can do is just go wherever it takes me, and where I don't even know where it's going to take me. It's a lot like that when I'm doing intuitive readings for people. I don't know always where they're going to go. I've been doing them professionally for the last year and a half now. Something, again, I didn't think I had the audacity to do, and Whimsy and others kept prodding me, saying, yes, this is what you do. This is what you do well. And I've found that I really love doing it for people. But I love the service to people. That's what I really love. It's not a place of ego. And many times it is just going down a journey where I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know what it's going to tell, but that's where life feels right now. Like it's just taking me down this big, big journey. And I don't know if others of you are going through that right now, but that's a big theme right now. And let me scroll through some comments here. Lewis's words, same here. So my problems seem somewhat first world compared to Chuck's freeway adventures with contacts. Yes, that was scary. That was scary. But as you can see, I'm still here. I get, there are those theories that when it's our time to go, it's our time to go, and we're not going to go before. So I've certainly had experiences like that, enough shares of experiences where, for want of a better way of saying it, it's like my angels look out for me. I believe me, I could have died on that freeway. I couldn't see where I was driving. I was in the far left lane, the fast lane, and I had to get over like 4 lanes so I could get to my exit to get off. And if you know California freeways, it's boom, boom, boom. It's very fast, and you've got to be on your toes. Let me go through some other comments here if there are. Let's see here. Someone was saying here, my gosh, Chuck, you're having a really rough time. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. And, I'm someone who believes there's always lessons and anything. There's always something being taught to us. It's one of the reasons I love uh, journal writing. I love journal writing because it's a way of gauging this, keeping track of it. You can look back on it. I've even said that sometimes when you're going through a really rough period and it doesn't make sense, write about it. Write it about it as honestly, objectively as you can. And sometimes 3 months later, 6 months later, you can turn back and read it and then look at the progression of events. And you see that what happened was exactly what was supposed to happen. And some very good things couldn't have happened any other way, or profound things or lessons could not have happened any other way. And I just lost my place here because when I scroll down, this skips on me. So let me get back here. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to be seamless and graceful here, and it's not always the easiest thing to do. But let me try to scroll down again. Ward, where's the audience for our circus? Oh, let me go back here. I just see Dr. Whimsy here. Love you. Well, I love you right back, my dear friend. I love you right back. God, I am so grateful for you in my life. As I said, Whimsy, you're the reason I'm here. You're the reason I'm doing all of this. And it is such an adventure, Whimsy, to be on this ride with you and to be on this ride here. And of course, I was talking about the fire horse. That fire horse is really starting to gallop right now, and I'm really having to keep up with it. Ward, sounds like looking through a kaleidoscope. It's so interesting you said that, because I did a professional reading yesterday. Very dear friend of mine who is a licensed sex therapist, has her PhD. Um, there's so much that's misunderstood about sex therapy, but she always says, heal your sexuality, you heal your life, because it's all encompassing. So she wanted me to try to channel Ananice Nin. And this was it was a particularly controversial thing because, this is so, it's so interesting. I was talking about journaling. This is a woman who journaled her own life quite extensively and very frankly, and talked about a lot of taboos. And, I'm not trying to invite a lot of controversy here right now, but let's just say that it involved a consensual adult relationship with her own father. And I kept getting very abstract images. And I was talking to my friend because she wants to she's back in college right now, furthering her education, working on another doctorate. And she really wanted me to help her with this, just any insights, any thoughts. And I said, I'm getting very abstract images. And what I'm getting is like shards of glass, like colored stained glass, and even like a cathedral, like a mosaic window, and that all that glass was shattered and light was passing through it, like all these dimensions. And it was like, I believe me, I don't want to devote the whole show to this, I promise. And I know for some of you this may be a little heavy, but I just touch upon it quickly, that it was going into a lot of outer dimensional energy, the highs, the lows, the heavens, the hells, but anyway, it was very interesting. I got that metaphor of the church cathedral window, the shards of glass. And someone just mentioned that about the kaleidoscope, because that's the image I was getting there. That's just for a different show today. But this is all of who I am. and my life is branching out in different directions. This show has always been about old Hollywood history. I love Lucy and things of that nature, and I plan to do a lot more of that because it is my passion. It's I said with my late great friend Bart Andrews, the author of the I Love Lucy book, one of the things that bonded the two of us together is that we both had a head full of worthless information, all this data about old show business and Hollywood and stuff, but we loved it. And I guess everybody brings something to the table, what they love and things that we can share, and it's all human interest. Let me look through some other comments here. Paperback writer, we are all bozos on the bus. Now, aren't we now? That's the other thing. We have to laugh about ourselves. We have to have humor about all of this. I was saying this, my dear, dear friend, Anastasia, who, I think she'll return to doing live streams again. She's had to take a break from it because her life is very full right now. But I was just saying to her the other day that, sometimes life gets so damn absurd. You have to at one point just look at it and go, this is like a comedy. This is like the sickest, craziest comedy. And I was reminded of how many of the great comedians had tragic childhoods. They came out of tragedy. Like Charlie Chaplin, the world's greatest comedian, he and his mother grew up in the worst of poverty, the direst of poverty. That and things like that never leave you. They stay with you. But that cliche about there being a fine line between comedy and tragedy, it's very, very true. Very true. Let me get to some other comments here. What's this? Renee. Hi, Whimsy. Sorry, I went for a piece of chocolate cake. You didn't include me. I love chocolate cake. I love like chocolate suicide cake. Chocolate decadent cake. I think it has different names, but that when some reason that stuck with me, chocolate suicide cake, where it's chocolate upon chocolate upon chocolate, and then there's chocolate chips on it. And I think if you really want to take it further, you pour chocolate syrup over it. Chocolate ice cream. I could go for that. Oh, God, I could go for that. Whimsy can tell you this. I bake an incredible carrot cake. Remember Jessica Rabbit to Roger Rabbit? Come on, Roger, I'll go bake you a carrot cake. Now, I have this recipe that was my mother's going back many decades. Just an old-fashioned carrot cake recipe. And believe me, I'm somebody, I question whether I can even boil water. I don't cook. I really don't cook much, but some bizarre reason I can bake. And I don't even understand that myself. Maybe it's because baking is just strictly following things to the letter, measuring cups and spoons and stuff and timing it all out. But I can replicate my mother's carrot cake. I'm very proud of that. And Whimsy remembers the day when we were working together. I baked a carrot cake specifically so I could cut it into slices, wrap it up in foil, and give it to my coworkers as gifts. And of course, I gave one to Whimsy. And Whimsy, I think you inhaled that. And you were like, that's all I get? This one little thin piece? I didn't have any more to give you. But Whimsy, I will one day bake you a whole damn carrot cake. And I don't know if that's in accordance with the 80% plant-based diet. Well, let me see. It does have carrots, but it also has a lot of butter and a lot of cream cheese, a lot of sugar, and it is damn good. But then, don't we have to cheat once in a while? I'm thinking of Greta Garbo. Okay, here we go. I get to tell just a quick old Hollywood story. Well, new Hollywood, but involving an old Hollywood star, Greta Garbo, one of my very favorite actresses of all time. When she was in her elder years, she still used to fly out. She lived in New York on the Hudson River in a beautiful apartment. I've seen pictures of it. The woman had exquisite taste, but she used to fly out to Los Angeles on a regular basis because she had a lot of friends out here. Like George Cukor and Gaylord Hauser, and there's the story, and this has been confirmed, that she and Gaylord Hauser, and if you know about Gaylord Hauser, he was a great health food authority. He had a lot to do with Greta Garbo's own health routines, and they were known to go to a place in West Los Angeles that anybody in West LA knows it. Anybody who knows LA knows the Apple Pan on Pico Boulevard, which has been there since 1948. It's just an old-fashioned diner, with the countertop and the stools and the booze, that type of thing. And it's never changed its decor. Well, Greta Garbo, and this is when she was, I guess, well into her 70s. She would have her long gray hair, a baseball cap, and a mink coat on, I've been told. And she and Gaylord Hauser would sit at stools at the bar and have cheeseburgers and fries, and sometimes milkshakes. And then somebody confronted them on it. "You're Gaylord Hauser." I don't know if they said you're Greta Garbo, but they said, "You're Gaylord Hauser. Why are you eating like this?" And their answer was, "We eat very well. We take care of ourselves. But once in a while, we cheat. And if you're going to cheat, cheat well. Cheat with really good junk food, like the Apple Pan, where they really none of this fast food, where it took like 15, 20 minutes before you got your food served, where they would make a real cheeseburger for you from scratch, real fries, real milkshakes, all that. They said, you're going to do it right. So that's where that came from. And also, might as well, I've told this story before, but it does tie in. Greta Garbo was also very good friends with Mrs. Quinn, who owned Quinn's health food store on Melrose and La Cienega, which is long gone, but it was certainly here I don't know what it dates back to. I've only lived in Los Angeles since the 1980s, and it was here, and I think it was here till about the early 2000s or so. I'd have to look into that. But Garbo and Mrs. Quinn were good friends, and Greta Garbo always made a point of visiting. And being the practical Swede that Garbo was, she loved very much going back into the kitchen of the health food store, putting on an apron, and baking bread with Mrs. Quinn. It was just fun for her. And just for the hell of it, just for the fun of it, Garbo loved to work the deli counter. That's true. It's been confirmed that Garbo, nobody knew who she was, other than she was just this kooky old lady with long gray hair and a Swedish accent. And I think back on it now and I remember Greta Garbo served me potato salad. Isn't that wild? I know, it was her. It was her, Greta Garbo, my favorite actress. And of course, I didn't know at the time. And probably it would have freaked her out if she'd known the time. But Garbo she got a kick out of it. She was like a little kid, working the cash register, serving people. And then I heard stories from people who worked at Quinn's. Said there was this one time, because remember, Garbo was the health fanatic. She saw a woman with an infant and a baby bottle, and she had Coca-Cola in the baby bottle, giving it to her baby. Well, Garbo was appalled. And Garbo went and got a juicer, pulled it off the shelf, and she said, "Put this on my tab," and gave it to her. Just said, here's a juicer. Now, please don't feed your baby that crap. And I don't know the woman even knew it was Garbo who gave her a juicer. And Garbo opened up to some of the workers there and would tell some stories. And, I don't remember specifics other than she did say that the movie Camille, she considered that to be her all-time greatest performance, the one she was most proud of. But she said, you know what my favorite movie was I was ever in? Ninotchka. That was my favorite. And I'm glad Garbo confirmed that because it's one of mine. In fact, Camille and Ninotchka. God, I love those two movies. I once saw them on the big screen in a double feature at the LA County Museum of Art. Two very different performances, two masterpieces of acting. Camille, very, very serious, very dramatic. Of course, Ninotchka is like a light, fluffy souffle. Garbo was funny. Garbo was a gifted comedic actress, and it was one of the few times she ever got to really play comedy. But she played comedy with such heart, and I loved her performance. Those two movies endeared me to her forever. I remember a friend of mine once saw Camille on the big screen, and he said, I sat there hypnotized. And Garbo had a hypnotic presence about her. And I find it very interesting that in independent interviews, Meryl Streep called Greta Garbo her favorite actress. Betty Davis called Greta Garbo her favorite actress. And Katharine Hepburn called Garbo her favorite actress. And Betty Davis even went so far as to say, Garbo is the one actress I envy because I don't know how she did what she did. And this is coming from Betty Davis, recognized as perhaps the greatest screen actress ever. She said Garbo did things, I don't know how she did it. Other than, and this is Betty Davis quoting her, she said it had to be witchcraft what Garbo did. It was just magical. It defied explanation what that woman did for the camera. And Orson Welles, who knew Garbo, said when you watched Garbo in person, she was not impressive. She was not charismatic. She was rather flat. You didn't see anything special. But he said there was something when you put a camera on her. That camera picked up this ethereal magic that no other actress had. And he said he couldn't even explain it. It was like an alchemy. Anyway, my Garbo stuff here. I should get back to some comments here. Like I see Whimsy here said, and my comment jumped. I don't know why it's doing this because Whimsy, it doesn't do it when we do our show, but mine does. But let's see, Whimsy, I think you said something. Let me get back to here. Let me go way, way back here. Okay, be like Catherine O'Hara. Her mantra, mattress. Sorry about that. Her mantra is, we got to go up, 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 keeping the energy positive and pulling people up. I think that really describes Catherine O'Hara. I loved Catherine O'Hara going all the way back to like the early 1980s when she was on this show called SCTV. I think it used to come on Friday nights. And then, of course, Saturdays were SNL, Saturday Night Live. So it was a nice 1-2 punch. Excuse me there. And I just adored her. I loved her and Andrea Martin both because I thought they had a purity about their comedy that was similar to what Gilda Radner had on Saturday Night Live. Something just very whimsical and pure. And I think that sums it up about we got to go up, 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 keeping the energy positive and pulling people up. That's what these women did. And I loved Catherine O'Hara's Katharine Hepburn. And you can find it on YouTube. It's Katharine Hepburn describing her first time Yes, with all of the innuendo that you would expect. What turns out about a minute into it, you realize that it's Katharine Hepburn talking about Twiling's tea. She's doing a tea commercial, but it's Katharine Hepburn describes her first time, and she's going, "Well, I didn't like it at first, but hell, sometimes you have to just go for the gusto." It was all, she was there with the sweater and the turtleneck and the hair up, and it was just such an impression of Katharine Hepburn. And Katharine Hepburn, Catherine O'Hara. Pardon me, getting my Catherines mixed up because this is Catherine with a C, not with a K. But Catherine O'Hara also did a Lucille Ball. Now, maybe it wasn't technically the best Lucille Ball impersonation, but it was funny and it was a little wicked because it was, and you know how I love my Lucy, but it was Lucy when she was older. It was Lucy, with her deep, gravelly voice. It was Lucy, ma'am, and not making fun of Lucy. I would never do that, but you know what I mean. But anyway, Catherine O'Hara did older Lucy, and they're doing a takeoff on a talk show. And Sarah Lucy with her cigarette and everything, being Lucy. And sitting beside her is Martin Short as the kid from Deliverance, very creepy. And at one point, Lucy goes, "What? He scared me." It was so funny, but it was just done with such heart. And I remember Catherine O'Hara also doing Elizabeth Taylor. She did Joan Crawford. And I never understood why she didn't become more famous than she did. I always thought she should have been a real icon. And I think it came out in her obituaries in the last few days that she did reach the status of icon. I mean, when I watched the ABC nightly news, the news of her death was like the second or third story. I mean, they treated it like the passing of a major, major entertainer. And I thought that was so beautiful. And what I loved about Catherine O'Hara was that the third act of her life, the third act of her career, actually was the biggest. It's like she saved the best for the last. And she did get that recognition. A lot of that had to do with Schitt's Creek, the TV show, which just became an unexpected hit. And, this was really her last hurrah because she won a Best Actress in a Comedy Series Emmy for it. In fact, the whole cast, I think that's unprecedented, where in one year a show sweeps all the categories like that. Best Actress, Supporting Actress. Literally all four of the stars got awarded that year. The show won Best Comedy Series, Best Writing, Best Directing. But it was lovely to see Catherine O'Hara get really recognized as she deserved to be. And little did we know, she only had about 4 years left. But she went out on top. She went out appreciated. And she really left us with a beautiful legacy of work. And that's one of the beautiful things about YouTube, because all this stuff is so accessible at our fingertips. And we can just pull it up now. So she'll live on. She'll live on for a long, long time. As Paula was saying, journal writing can help you process your feelings and emotions. Absolutely. I love journal writing. I have been doing it since 1980. And it was when I was in college. I was in an acting class. And that was part of our ongoing assignment in acting class, to keep a journal. And the teacher told us just that. This is what you're going to do. You're going to be processing your feelings, your emotions. You're going to see yourself the way other people see you. And it's true. If you're really honest when you write in a journal, you write with that fearlessness that no one is ever going to find it and read it but you. My case, maybe my cat will get a hold of it. Sasha's over there in the room right now. But you see yourself in the third person. and that's valuable. And sometimes journal writing is like a great friend. Mae West famously said that, oh, yeah, keep a diary and it keeps you, and it's true. It does keep you, it preserves you, because I have kept all my journals. Maybe one day if I happen to have a heads up that my days are running out, that I'm going to die soon or something, there may be a big bonfire. I'm going to be destroying these journals. I don't know how I'd feel if people read these, but then I guess also, what does it ultimately matter? Somebody did stumble upon my journals. I would hope they would treat them with respect, read them in order, read them as they were intended to be, and maybe serve as maybe some lessons for others. Because I think, and I don't say this out of any audacity for myself, I say it because we all have a story to tell. We all have a reason for being here. We all have a great purpose. And maybe we should all write autobiographies. Maybe we should all have journals that we can pass on to others. And then I'm also thinking about some people in my life, like, not putting down my family, but I think my family would be, I'd be like, I'll throw those things in the trash. Nobody wants to read that shit. I don't know. But I am an inveterate writer. I love to write. So journal writing resonates with me with that also. And the Arc of Whimsy. Okay, I viewed her, and I know you're talking about Ananice Nin, and she made a conscious effort to turn on the button and say, "Showtime, everyone, focus. We are going up." Catherine O'Hara. Forgive me. I thought you meant Ananice, but you said I reviewed her, Catherine O'Hara, and she made a conscious effort to turn on the button and say, "Showtime, everyone, focus. We are going up, up, up." I really felt myself pulled up to a different mental state as her. I love that whimsy. In fact, I wanted to, when we talk privately, I want to hear more about that. In fact, I'd love it if you talk about that on the show tomorrow. I know as of late, we don't have time because there's so much shit going on in the news that we have to address, but that fascinates me. And that feels so positive. And it also feels like a lovely way to truly honor Catherine O'Hara. She was a good soul. I felt her goodness when she was talking about Macaulay Culkin. There was some video they played the other day when on the day she died, and I'm watching my cat to see what she's getting into right now. Sasha. Oh, life with a Siamese is never boring, and my little Siamese is a little Aries female, so she's really never boring. But Catherine O'Hara was at the dedication for Macaulay Culkin's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and she gave the most beautiful, beautiful speech, saying, "Macaulay, I have loved being your fake mom all these years." But she said there was a story about the making of Home Alone. And God, wish I had the exact quote here, but it was a scene where Kevin was acting out and she was punishing him by taking him up to the attic and threatening to lock him in the attic or something. And she had to say something really awful to him. And this is where I saw Catherine O'Hara's heart. She said, "I looked at that sweet little boy and I couldn't do it. It wouldn't come out of my throat. I could not say that to that sweet little boy," whatever it was she was supposed to say. And I think they had to change the line. And then Catherine O'Hara said, "Then I went on to have 2 sons of my own, and I couldn't believe the stuff that came out of my mouth at my own sons." But that was her own humor. But Whimsy, I love that you remote viewed her. Oh, I love that. And in fact, I'd love to know if you did this after she passed or before, because I know sometimes I'm trying to remember who it was. It was somebody asking me to channel someone who had died very recently, and I tried, but I kept hearing, "Oh, it was Diane Keaton." And I heard, no, it's too soon. It's too soon. It's like she wanted her time with her loved ones, her family. She was just over there, had just transitioned. Like, no, leave me alone. Please. It was very polite, but please, no, no. So you have to respect that, because that's essential. And I've had these conversations with people who ask me about channeling. And I always say it's about honoring and respecting that soul, never exploiting that soul, being impeccably honest with them. Like whenever I've read a message on Whimsy's show, I always say, this is a public message. Do I have your permission? And so I'm careful with that, because I don't think they'll come to you otherwise if you violate them. Yeah. Let me slowly scroll here, because I don't want to lose my comments here. Award, the kaleidoscope I was referring to was the multifaceted contact lenses, to each one's own, but I'm sticking to my glasses. Oh yeah, I realize that's probably what you meant, but I was just saying it was interesting for me because I had that metaphor of the colored glass, the mosaic church glass, all shattered, like very much like that. But yeah, the secret to multifocal contact lenses is training your brain to use them. That's why they can be a little difficult in the beginning, because you've really got to, your brain has got to coordinate with your eyes and sync up with all of this, where you can look at through the different focal points and do it in a way that is seamless. Kind of like when we were young and didn't need all this stuff. We could just see for real. Now we have to have technical assistance. But I'm still, as you can see, I still work with it. Like when I do the Whimsy show and I have to get my glasses out. Let's see here. Oh, Andy, hello. I'm sorry I didn't say hello to you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well. You said, I forgot it was, it says here money, but I think you meant Monday. You said, well, I forgot it was money. It's been busy around the house today. When I was just saying earlier, Andy, I have been insanely busy myself. Money is always nice though, but it's Monday. And then Whimsy is talking about Anani's really sick relationship with her father. Like she made up a story where she had a choice. She had no choice and created a fantasy so she would not have to give up her love of her father. Whimsy, it's complicated. And I very much want to read her journals now. I want to form my own opinions here, my own feelings. When I did the reading for my friend, I'm going to admit I did not know much about her. And I purposely avoided knowing too much about her because I wanted to come from a very pure place. Just let it channel me however it was going to channel. And I didn't want to colorize it or put myself in on it. I always strive to just be honest and just whatever comes out, comes out. And I try not to judge it one way or the other. But this was for my friend who's, she is a licensed sex therapist and she is continuing her education. And she did want to just hear this so she can make it part of her presentation. But perhaps that's something we could discuss ourselves because, you are my dear friend. And I love talking about things like, a gamut of things. This is what I love to do with all my dear friends. Let's see. Question. How can I stop the freezing and no sound to stop? Oh, Renee, am I freezing and stopping? I don't know unless it's your Wi-Fi, your internet. I know there've been a lot of problems. Dr. Whimsy and I have had some problems, internet issues. Joyce, this, if you're still there, we had some problems, big problems that we're working on right now. And, you get Joyce, get all this fixed and get her hardwired and stuff so we can get her back on the show because she's an incredible guest. but that's the only thing I can think of. It's just, it could even have to do with all of the solar storms we've been having lately that affects Wi-Fi, from the satellites. And most certainly this storm system, this horrific storm system that has been going all the way across from I think from Oklahoma all the way across the southern states, going up the eastern seaboard, Midwest, blizzard conditions. So that might have to do with all the freezing and the stopping with your Wi-Fi. And Whimsy and I have been talking about that on our own show on the Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's quite serious right now, and we worry about the outcome. Like what's going to happen after this with all the flooding when all of the snow melts. What's going to happen with the funding cuts to FEMA? Tune into our show, you'll get an earful. We will go into it in much more depth. But it's a grave situation right now. But anyway, Renee, I hope the freezing stops and the no sound. And I see somebody's giving me some hearts there. And I see Paula said, I love chocolate. These must be some older comments. I was talking about the chocolate suicide cake. What was this? Paperback Writer. Hope they call it Death by Chocolate. Did you like the Mary Tyler Moore show? I loved Rhoda, and Rhoda was imagining what her obituary would look like. And she said, woman found dead from eating 300 peanut butter cups. And let me tell you, that could have been me. When I was a kid, when I was in college, I used to eat so much crap. I mean, jelly donuts, Reese's peanut butter cups. Believe me, if I eat something like that now, I eat it in extreme moderation, like 1 cup at the most and lay off, because honestly, I don't like the way I feel afterwards. And that's enough of an incentive not to do it. But that could have been me dropping dead from peanut butter cups, because I had a metabolism like a hyperactive rabbit. I was 18 years old, 6'2", and I must have weighed about 155 pounds. I was so skinny. When I turned sideways, I disappeared, and I could do things like eat a whole bag of Reese's peanut butter cups. And I'm not talking about those little mini things. I'm talking about full size peanut butter cups. I could eat a dozen donuts. I could do stuff like that. It's a miracle. Whimsy, you know this yourself. It's a miracle I didn't do some serious damage to myself. Oh my God, the way I used to eat. But I didn't gain weight. My sister used to hate me for that, because she's battled weight her whole life. And she's saying, why did I not get the genes you have? Why did I get the shit genes from our mother and our grandmother? And I remember once my sister came to visit me, and I had to do stuff like weight gain powders. I was so skinny. And she got, weight gain powder? No. She was disgusted with me, but it was a legitimate need. I just had to keep my weight up. And let's see, Whimsy here, you said, I think this is talking about Annalise. She had said, actually, I was not okay with what happened to me as a kid. It would have not helped her and would have probably taken her over the edge. And so she chose a fantasy instead. Yeah, there is merit in what you're saying. And that's why I say I want to really read these journals now. I really want to get more of a spin on it. What I did yesterday was just a pure, unfiltered reading. I just took whatever was coming to me. But I really value what you have to say, Whimsy. I do. Ward, Andy, I bet you wish it had been money around the house. Yes, I think many of us were thinking that. Oh, Renee, you're going to get me a piece of chocolate cake. Well, send it on, please. Please. Let's see. Andy, family coming in, taking my parents' stuff out of the house and not caring what I want to keep from my family. Oh, well, Andy, stand your ground, please. Please, if there's something that matters to you, stand your ground. I'm assuming you have a right to whatever you want, especially if it's something that has sentiment or meaning. Maybe if your family is being a little too aggressive there, look them in the eye, say, this matters to me. This really matters to me. I want to keep this. Please speak to them on a heartfelt level. See if that makes any kind of difference. Oh yes, Ward. Of course I know that song. If I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake. That was Rosemary Clooney. I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake. In fact, that was a funny moment in the play, same time next year. And okay, my memory could be faulty here, but I did a scene from that. Remember that acting class I told you about from many years ago where we did the journal writing? Well, this was where we did the scene. And as I recall, we had to actually put the record on. It was actually a tape recording, but we mind putting on a record, the needle in the record. And it was, I knew you were coming. I would have baked a cake. And of course, it was about this couple having an annual affair with each other in a hotel. But yeah, that's cute. Kelly, my dad always told me, if you can't laugh, what's the point? Yeah, there has to be a point where things are just so absurd. You got to find the humor in it, because humor is humanity. Humor is the humanity in it. And that's why I've often felt that comedians, like my beloved Lucille Ball, they came here with a mission that could be more important than the person who found the cure for polio or cancer or world peace or whatever, because laughter is so healing. And I know for a fact Lucille Ball with I Love Lucy, it's played to 3 billion. This is documented, 3 billion people in 78 countries. Historians have said her face is possibly the most viewed face in all of humanity. But this year's the 75th anniversary of I Love Lucy. 75 years of a show that plays every day, cities all over the country, all over the world, and makes people laugh. That's holy. That's sacred. And I think about Lucy's name, Lucille, literally meaning carrier of light. She was a carrier of light. A good friend of mine who owns Lucille Ball's childhood home and opens it up to the public. And I've told how my artwork hangs permanently in the living room of Lucille Ball's childhood home. I was commissioned by my friend to paint the Ball family as they looked in the 1920s. Grandpa Hunt, Mother Dee Dee, little baby brother Fred, 9-year-old Lucy. She went through breast cancer, serious breast cancer, and had to go through grueling rounds of chemotherapy. They gave her a choice. You can go for less and we can make it a little easier for you, or we can go full strength. And she said, I've got 4 kids. I got to take full strength because I got to get through this and get it over with. And she said to me, the only thing that got her through that was I Love Lucy. She just kept it on a loop. As sick as she was, the despair she was in, she just watched I Love Lucy over and over and over again. So you can't tell me comedy isn't holy and sacred. I love that. And I also love the fact that Lucy was born in the year 1911. Television did not even exist. And yet that was her destiny. That's what she was born to do. Her soul came here knowing that television was going to be invented later, and she was going to be here for it and ready to seize the moment. Let me get through some other comments here. Dick Carsey jumped on me again. I can't. Let me go back. I wish I could fix this problem here. Oh, I've got to go way back here. Shoot. Okay, let me go faster. This is embarrassing. Okay, I've got to go even further because I see comments here that's about different topics. This is where we have to be very human on YouTube and just acknowledge our foibles and frailties. And damn, why this jumped on me? I'm scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, get back to where I was. Let's see. Okay, now let me go down a little further. Okay, we're almost here. Yeah, no, yeah, Renee jumped in. Andy, can't you tell them the treasure you would like to keep? Yeah, people are coming to your defense, Andy. Please speak from your heart. Tell them why something matters to you and why you want to keep it. I've gone through that. I'll throw this out very quickly. When I was moving from my last apartment, I had to downsize. So I had to get rid of things. And there's that old thing where you have a judicious friend say, keep it, get rid of it, throw it away, donate it. And you just do what they say. And I did that. And here it is more than a decade later. I am so sorry I did that I gave my power away because I ended up throwing away some things that really mattered to me. And I thought, just because it doesn't matter to you, that's not your place to say it doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, it's fine to get counsel and advice from someone, but we listen to our own heart first and foremost. And if it feels right to you, you stand your ground. So Andy, please stand your ground there. Okay, let me scroll a little further here. What was this word? If I think Miss Garbo likely had more fun being a deli server than she had making movies or fleeing shutterbugs. There might have been some truth to that. I mean, she was a great artist, great actress, but there were many reports she wasn't happy in Hollywood. She wasn't happy with the stricture of Metro Goldwyn Mayer Studios and the things she was forced to do. And I think she really hated losing her privacy. Excuse me, I just need a drink here. There were many things she didn't like. And so, and because she wasn't really working, she was like play acting, working the cash register, serving, to her that she was probably like a little kid playing house or something. I think she did have fun doing that. Paperback writer, as a theater person, where do you think great actresses and actors pull that kind of performances out of? That's a good question. And I don't think there's one answer to that, paperback writer. Because acting and theater and movies is like a whole universe to itself. And, with a gamut of possibilities and scenarios and characters. I'm trying to think, how can I put this in my own terms? Because my training was with the wonderful Dee Wallace, who was, people say, Dee Wallace. And I say, come on, you've seen E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Well, she was the mother of Drew Barrymore and little Elliot and all the beautiful blonde lady. That was Dee Wallace. That was my acting teacher. And Dee was always about channeling a performance. Dee was very much about not doing preparation, like most acting teachers, about how you have to be in the method and you have to suffer and you have to feel and you have to take your script and underline words. Okay, I'll put a color on this word. I'll put an emphasis on that. I must have this emotion here. And she said, that is death. She said, that kills the life, the spontaneity of a scene, because when you're acting for the camera, it's got to be alive. It's got to be in the moment. taking place for real. So she was very much about not preparing, but about cold reading, where you would read your script one time only, and then you had to develop your sight reading skills, which I need to get back because that helped me a lot right now with reading all these comments here. But it was about sight reading. But she would have, usually it was 2 scene partners. You would each be at one end of the stage and you would jump up and down, get your energy up real high. And then you would ground yourself. And then you'd walk out and you'd face your partner and you'd connect your energy. And then, we were trained, you exchange your energy, you send energy, they send energy, and it's like a dance of the energy, and you're connecting. And you're just in that moment. You fall into it and you go down to your first words and you talk and your scene partner talks, and then you just react off of that as honestly as you can. And where that comes from, I can only say comes from the universe, much like when I channel someone. It's just there. But it's also very much about your own truth. People think acting is faking. No, it's anything but. Real, honest to God acting is very much based in your own truth, based in your own authenticity. This is where you draw upon your own myriad of life experiences, but you apply it to the situation, the circumstances of the character. And it grows out of that. And I've watched it for myself because we used to videotape our scenes. And it was beautiful to watch. And when you were not in your truth, when you were not connected, when you were playing at something, faking something, it showed on camera. Oh my God, you wanted to just crawl under the floor in shame and embarrassment because it was so bad. It was so obvious. So you quickly learned when you're in Dee Wallace's class, you don't BS. You come from here. You come from the truth. And when you're in that place, it just naturally starts unfolding. I don't know, paperback writer, did I give an answer that's satisfactory there? That's the best way I can say that. But the actors have their techniques. Many actors do their research, their homework. They'll go to great lengths, like Robert De Niro gaining 60 pounds by eating nothing but pasta for 2 months, or Meryl Streep, a master of accents, spending months working with a dialect coach to perfect those accents that she does better than probably anyone. But even she will say there's a point where you take it and then you let go of it. You have the technique, but you let go of it, and you have to let it be organic, whatever's going to come up, but let it filter through that accent. But it's got to come from truth, whatever that truth is, wherever that truth is coming from. It always fascinates me because I think this applies to all of the arts. Whether you're writing, you're singing, you're composing, you're dancing, whatever. This is like the golden thread. It's drawing upon that truth that we channel from. What was this paperback writer, Brokenhearted, about Catherine Hara? I too have followed her since Second City and SCTV. She was a genius, and I'm really happy she got recognized for that at the end of her life, because for many years she just kind of stayed under the radar. She was kind of like one of these semi-successful actresses. She'd been on a comedy show, but she was never really treated like a great star. And boy, she was in her obituary. She was really recognized. I think she would have looked at her own obituaries and go, wow, they're saying that about me? Shucks, because she was so humble. As Whimsy was even talking about, there was just that love to make people laugh and feel better. Um, what was this, Danny? Catherine O'Hara, do you have the Larry Sanders Show episode taped off the original HBO broadcast, including HBO promos? I don't have that, but it might be on YouTube. I'd certainly look for it. I take joy in Catherine O'Hara, excuse me. Hepburn almost rolled off my tongue there. Oh, Danny, don't worry about being here last week, because I wasn't here last week either. So I was told I had an event I had to go to and I couldn't. And I thank you for coming back this week and being so loyal to me. What was this greeting, Sir Danny? I thought it was poignant that Mr. Culkin paid tribute to her and wish he'd spent more time with her. Oh, that was poignant. I agree, because it was heartfelt. I mean, and you think about it, great character actors, especially television actors. But I think in this case, when you've got a movie as beloved as Home Alone, they are like part of our collective family, like the mother and like little Kevin and all. They're like our collective family. And I know in her obituary, they played that scene, and I think it was necessary to have a scene like this, because otherwise she would have seemed like the most neglectful mother of all time. I mean, flying off to Europe and leaving her kid behind. But she has this poignant scene. She's with the man at the airport. She's trying to get home. She's desperately trying to get back home to her child. And I wish I had it in front of me. I remember all the lines, but she says, if I have to get out there on the runway and hitchhike, I'm going to do it. I mean, if I have to hitchhike a plane to get home, I will do anything. I mean, basically saying, I will sell my soul to get home to my son. And that was a beautifully played scene. And that was even before Catherine O'Hara had become a mother herself of, I think, two sons. And she nailed it. It was beautifully, beautifully done. And it was sincere. It's real. That's what I talk about. Great acting. It's honest. It comes from something from within your own self, whatever she drew upon. It was real. And it touched us. And I think it was also essential in the movie, because it took what could have made her character very unsympathetic, extremely sympathetic. It's like that moment she grabbed us and we were there with her. Let's see. Paperback Writer, Shit Creek is what got me through the pandemic. Yep. That was a time we certainly needed laughter, didn't we? I watched it every night, the whole series back to back, and then started then again. Catherine's humor and Habri kept me going. Yeah. I still have some episodes I haven't watched yet. I need to get back into it. It was so good. Mara was such a character. Danny, I had to put my dad in the hospital. He's still there tonight, but he's on the fast track, Lord willing, to coming home in the next few days. Well, Danny, all of us are collectively sending you energy and wishing your father well, and wishing you well too, because this isn't easy. I've had to go through it. Both my parents are gone now, but I had to go through it, and I really know. Andy, tomorrow more families coming to the house, and it would be awake enough. They will be here at 7. Tomorrow more families coming back to the house, and I won't be awake enough. They will be here at 7 in the morning. Well, Andy, tell you what, everybody here, let's send Andy some prayers and some energy that he will be awake enough tomorrow, and that you will have the courage to stand up for yourself. Don't let them walk all over you. Please, Andy, please. This is where you are being called upon to find the strength that's within yourself. You're not being selfish. You're just taking care of yourself. If there's some things that matter to you, make that clear. Make that very clear. I have a close friend. I won't say her name because I don't want to violate confidences, but I did a piece of artwork for her, and it was her mother, her late mother, who died of COVID. And I channeled a message, which I often do when I do artwork. And um, I I said, I don't know what this means other than don't you let them walk over you. That's what I heard. Don't you let them walk over you. And she said, oh my God, my brother and my sister are trying to sue me for the estate. They're trying to take control. And that was mother saying, don't you let them. You stand your ground, you fight, you be tough. Andy, stand your ground. Please, please. Well, but I think we got a lot of people here who pray for you. Send you energy. I hope I'm right in saying that. Or Danny, don't worry, no one was here. Sir Chuck had a out the plane without a parachute week last week. Oh God, that's a way of putting it. Out the plane without a parachute. Woo! God, did I ever. But I landed on a mattress. I bounced a few times, but I landed and I was safe and I didn't break any bones and I'm okay. What was this ward? Sure, Chuck, maybe you should donate your journals to the National Archive. Well, if they'd want them, sure, why not? I could just see people now opening up some of those journals and going, oh, let's see, Danny. Oh, I see some people already saying Danny praying he's doing much better. Damn, my dad's like a real life lion that roared like Robbie Benson. He'll be okay. We're gonna make sure he's gonna be okay. Oh, Andy, I loved her in the second Beetlejuice movie. Yeah, Catherine O'Hara. Okay, I'm trying to slowly go through these comments here without making a jump. Slowly. I wish I could go faster because it helps keep the pace up of the show. Let's see. Oh, Linda, thank you for joining. And again, please pardon me if I miss your name or I miss a comment. It's a lot to keep up with here. I know when I do the show with Dr. Whimsy, sometimes the comments are flying so fast. And I think she and I both feel bad sometimes when we can't always answer questions or address every comment. But, and you've got like an hour. Sometimes we go on an hour and a half. You got to keep it going. And sometimes it just flies and you could just have to just keep going with the flow and the pace and hope that people understand, because we do try our sincerest best, like I'm trying right now. Let's see, let me go down a little further here. Let's see here. Oh, wait, I think this is Geocosmic Valentine. Hi, I don't think I said hello to you. You're referring to I forget who it was, who was having trouble with freezing their computer. Ironic with the weather right now. Say freezing, maybe she can reboot her computer or leave YouTube and come back in. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes, sometimes you just have to try all things. Joyce, you're hardwired. I got to give you a call and make sure everything's okay. Maybe if everything works out, we can have you on the show with Whimsy, with Whimsy's permission, of course, but maybe we can have you on because we really, really want you on there because we want you to be our resident astrologer. And you're so good at what you do. You're so good. And you've been so good to me and so generous and gracious. And you have helped me a lot. Warren, you had your Wi-Fi freeze for almost a week, so thanks to the southeast U.S. ice storm that made life interesting for my city. Yeah, literally froze your Wi-Fi, huh? Well, I grew up in Virginia and I lived in Richmond, Virginia, where I went to college. I lived there stayed there after college. So I was there for 7 years, and we used to get really severe ice storms, snowstorms, but really bad ice. Summertime was humid beyond belief, like a sauna bath. And the wintertime, that same moisture just froze up and made ice everywhere. The sidewalks, the steps, the icicles hanging down from the trees like daggers, like knives when they'd fall down. You prayed they didn't go on your head. And I was roughly 2 hours or so from Washington, D.C., so I know how severe the weather can be. Of course, out here in Southern California, we're going through a heat wave right now. Before I logged on today, I had to wipe sweat. I had to wash my face because I had so much sweat on me. I'm so hot right now. And you want to hear this? I've got my air conditioner running right now. That's how warm and muggy it is right now here in Southern California. Uh, it just is. But Joyce, I'm glad you're hardwired. We got to talk because maybe we can have you on this week. That'll be so exciting. Ward asking Andy, can you call a lawyer to get them stopped? You know that is a possibility, but Andy, sometimes we have to stand up and stand in our power. And I say this as someone who was a very bullied kid and used to let people walk over me. Don't let that anymore. I don't allow that. I stand in my strength now. And I think that's so important for every single one of us. Don't let your family bully you. Please. Please. We've got people here who are going to pray for you. I know that because we got good people here. We're going to send you so much energy. I think you may surprise yourself because once you prove to yourself how strong you are, then it makes it easier the next time when you have to do it again and again. You're more prepared. Let's see. Let's go down here. I'm speeding a little here because it's almost 7. I can't stay on here too much longer, but let's see. Let's see. Ward once Rhoda said, I don't know why I'm eating this bonbon. I should just directly apply it to my hips. Oh yeah, that was I remember reading about the writers, so like James L. Brooks, who went on to become a great Oscar-winning writer and director. I mean, he did Terms of Endearment and other films. He said he used to love writing for the character of Rhoda. I think he liked writing for her even better than Mary herself. Excuse me here. Learn to sip more slowly. Once in my quest to keep the pace up of the show, I took a gulp. I was splashing water all over my face, which wasn't too productive. What was this word? The problem is about them. I was not home to some of the people I could tell to leave the stuff compared to stuff I wanted to get rid of. Well, Andy, maybe for the future, make it a little clearer, write it out what you want to keep, maybe even put paper tags, tie them on, tape them onto things that you'd like to keep. And as I said before, if anybody contests you on that, just speak from the heart. Say why this matters to you, why this has sentiment for you, why it matters. Appeal to them that way and see if it makes a difference. You might surprise yourself. In fact, they may be surprised in you. Like, wow, this man is speaking up for himself. He's in his power. So I wish you well. Let's see. The Cookie Monster and Ernie saying if I knew you were coming, I'd have baked a cake on Sesame Street. Oh yeah, the Cookie Monster. Cookies. I love the Cookie Monster. Darn it, it skipped on me as hard as I was trying not to. Let's see if I can find my place again. This is a real problem here. Okay, I found the Bon comment from Rhoda, so I didn't go too far down. The Cookie Monster, paperback writer, as we were saying, laughter is a healing thing. Oh, it is holy. It is sacred. Laughter is filled with light. It's filled with love and light. Ward, Lucy, and Desi's mission was to reunite and keep their respective families safe. Sure, a lot more noble than the I want to be a star to rub it in others' faces. Well, that is true. I mean, they were human. They wanted to be successful. Lucy, frankly, did want to be the biggest star in Hollywood, but she had this humble every woman quality about her as well. And I think a lot of that just comes from how she grew up, just like Desi. Desi grew up very privileged. She grew up very wealthy in Cuba. His father was the mayor of Santiago. His mother was the heir to, oh my God, what's the famous rum from Cuba? Blanking out here. Bacardi. She was the heir to the Bacardi rum fortune. They were millionaires. They had 3 mansions. They had a yacht. They had polo ponies, horses, cows. And in the Cuban Revolution of 1933, they lost everything. And Desi and his father and mother were left penniless. And Desi and his father fled to Miami, where they had to live in a rat-infested warehouse. So Lucy and Desi knew what it was to be humbled. They never forgot that. And they were very much about their families. Both of them took care of their families. Desi supported his mother, built her a beautiful house. In fact, his mother outlived him by a number of years, but he made provisions for her that she be abundantly cared for. Lucy supported her mother and her grandparents, brought them all out to California. She rented a house on Ogden Drive in West Hollywood, which still stands. And I've been in that house. And that was so she could reunite her grandfather, her mother, her cousin Cleo, her brother, and herself, so they could live under one roof again, because they had been separated in a tragedy when I don't want to go into the whole story here because it's too long, but Grandpa Hunt was letting some children play with a rifle in the backyard, target shooting, and one of the kids accidentally shot the other kid in the back and paralyzed him from the waist down. And the family sued the Ball family for everything they had, the house, every stick of furniture. They lost everything. The family was separated. Lucy and Desi never got over what it was like to lose everything in the world you had and to even have your family broken apart. So it was very precious to them. And that was the whole reason for doing I Love Lucy. And I've told this before, and you know this, but it was because Desi was on the road with his band and Lucy was in Hollywood making movies, and they hardly saw each other. And they wanted to have children, and they knew they had to find a project where they could work together and live together to have children. As Lucy said, you can't conceive children over the telephone. Trust me, it doesn't work. That was the whole point of I Love Lucy. They didn't do this thinking they were going to have this big hit television show that was going to live on for the next 75 years and play all over the world and make them famous beyond belief. Lucy said she thought they were just going to have some cans of film after about a year. They thought it'd last about a year, and then they could show the kids the movies on at their birthday parties and stuff. Well, Lucy and Desi took those cans of film, and 6 years later, sold them back to CBS for $5 million. That's $5 million in 1957 dollars, which would have been closer to like $100 million. That's how they were able to buy RKO Studios and branch it out into Desi Lou. But it all stemmed from their desire to keep their family together, to have a family, to bring it together. Yes, that's true. Radio was barely invented and movies were silent in 1911. Oh yeah, that's true. Radio did exist, but it was considered primitive. Television, not at all. Or it was like maybe experimented with some scientists who were dreaming of a way to make television to send moving images and sound, even movies with sound. Though I'll tell you something interesting. It's a fallacy about the first sound movie being the Jazz Singer, 1927. That is so not true. Go on YouTube. You can find sound movies made in 1922. There's some with Eddie Cantor. There's an Eddie Cantor sound movie, 1922. And I found one, these were all experimental ways of doing sound on film. It was later perfected by the time of the Jazz Singer and even beyond there, because originally it was just record discs that were synced to the film. And then they found a way to put the sound right on the film. But there was a sound movie I saw made in 1913. I mean, it was synchronized sound, the actors speaking. I mean, it was a little primitive, but it was there. So the technology has existed, but certainly television was way, way off in 1911 when Lucy was born. Oh, thank you, Paperback Writer, saying don't forget to like. Thank you. Let me slowly scroll here because it seems to be the only way I can do this without losing things. Ward saying, by the way, it needs to be said that before they got famous as Archie and Edith Bunker, Carol O'Connor and Gene Stapleton had very extensive theater experience. I can't help but think that helped them. Oh, no question. That's their friendship, I think, went back almost a decade before All in the Family. They were very fond of each other, very fond. And this is something that Sally Struthers recently revealed in a YouTube interview. And she said she purposely waited until Norman Lear died, and the man lived to be 101. She waited until Norman Lear was dead before she said this. She said it was not Norman Lear who created All in the Family. It was Carol O'Connor. He created it. It was his idea. It was his concept from the very beginning. But he had to let Norman Lear take the credit so it could get made. So, and there were like 2 or 3 pilots shot of All in the Family before it finally did make it to CBS. And Gene Stapleton was there in every single pilot. And I think that was Carol O'Connor's insistence that she be hired because of their friendship. And he knew her work and knew how fabulous she was going to be. But they really loved and respected each other enormously. And the chemistry they had, wow. There aren't even words for that. We all know the chemistry they had. And I told the story of the time that I had dinner with Bob Schiller. Bob Schiller, who was one of the writers he was one of the later writers on All in the Family. And he used to write for I Love Lucy and wrote for Maude with his writing partner, Bob Weisskopf. And I made the comment to him. I said, when I watched All in the Family, I always felt like I was watching theater, like I was watching a one-act play instead of a television sitcom. And he just lit up. He said, thank you. Thank you. That is exactly what we were trying to do with All in the Family, was make it theater. That's exactly what we were doing. And he was so thrilled when I said that. Let me go through some more comments here because I do have to wrap up here, but I want to honor each of you. Forgive me, I am speeding through some things here. Let's see. Oh, Chris, hey, thank you for joining, Chris. I'm glad to see you here. It means a lot. I hope you're handling the weather. The weather that's going on right now all over the country, and I can only imagine they're in Chicago. Oh my God, I'm seeing people sing hello to each other. And let's see, Catherine O'Hara. Catherine O'Hara's end sounds somewhat like Roy Orbison, who also had a big revival in the end after decades of semi-obscurity. Yeah, that is true. Absolutely true. But isn't it great to leave the world with flags flying like that and fireworks in the sky and to really be recognized and celebrated for what you did? Because that used to drive me crazy about Catherine O'Hara. I used to watch her back in the days of SCTV and go, why is this woman not more famous? Because I thought she was a comedic genius and I never could understand. So I'm glad she got her recognition in the end. Let me go through here. Pat Sparrow 11, Chuck, I gave away my power and most everything that mattered to me. I agree. Keep your power. Yeah. I think we all have experiences where we have given away our power. And the only gift I can see in that is that if you really look into it, like, why did I give away my power? Why did I not have more faith in myself? Why did I not trust myself more? Why did I not honor myself more? Well, then that's the gift, because you take that with you and you use it the next time you're faced in a situation like that. It's like there's a lot that I used to tolerate that years ago that I'll be damned if I will ever tolerate again. And so that's where you learn from it and you grow and you evolve, and you don't beat yourself up for it. You just realize, okay, I did the best I could do at the place where I was in my life at that time. But the next time it happens, you have less excuse to do it because you should know a little bit better. But sometimes we do have to take it in increments. But anyway, that's a great thing you said. Keep your power. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, Joyce even saying, I agree, Chuck. Andy, stand up to them. Andy, you're going to find it's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. And what's more, if you come from a place in your heart, I think your family's going to respect you more. And they're going to know not to do that again because you're not going to tolerate it. Let's see some other comments here. I'm trying to, I have no idea how many more comments I have here because I can't go too fast. I've got to wrap this up. Joyce, bye. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I love what you said here, Ward. Andy, just try to keep in mind that your late mother would want you to do so and would be cheering you to do so. That may give you the extra needed boost. It's like what I told you when I received that channeled message from my friend I was doing the portrait for, that her mother was saying, don't you let them walk over you. Don't. It sometimes amazes me how siblings can be to each other, how abusive siblings can be. I'm very lucky. I only have one sibling. I have my beloved sister, my big sister. She's a lot older than me, 14 years older, but she commands my respect. And she certainly has my love. And I realize when I hear stories of sibling rivalry, for want of a better way of saying it, I realize how really, really lucky I am. It's not to say we don't fight, of course, we don't have problems. That's natural in any relationship, but we have that love and respect. Joyce, you're saying what night? Thursday? Well, I don't know yet. I've got to talk to I need to talk to you, Joyce, and I need to talk to Whimsy, and we'll see if it's this week or next. Don't worry. I won't let you down. We'll figure this out. Chuck, why can't she be on this show? Joyce, that is. I'll tell you why. Because I don't know how with YouTube to do a split screen where you can have a guest. I've never figured out how to do it. I used to have a different platform for doing this. I had a manager. She and I had a very bad falling out, and she was the one who knew how to set it up for me. And I never learned how to do it on my own. So that's why I can't have guests on here. I've got to learn how to do it. YouTube is very confusing. So for now. That's why I only have this. The closest I've had to guests on here is when my dear friend Anastasia comes on here and we just literally sit on the couch side by side. But I'd like to figure out how to do a split screen. Um, let's see. Let me. Oh, shoot. It jumped on me again. Darn it. Oh, God. Why does it do this? Let's see. Gotta find my place here. I don't know why this is doing it. Okay. Let me. Okay, I think I found my spot. Okay. Let me speed now. Oh yeah, Andy asking why can't she be on this show? Joyce, that is. Anyway, that's my answer. I technically don't know how to do this. Andy Whimsy has StreamYard, a lot more hardware and software. Yeah, and I don't have that myself. That's why. Oh yeah, Ward. There was a sound short of Sarah Bernhardt as Hamlet. And I have heard about that. I would imagine it was primitive. It was probably like a phonograph record recorded and synced up to the film, but I'd like to look for that. I think that would be fascinating. I think right from the very beginning, I think even Thomas Edison, when he created the motion picture, he was looking immediately for ways to have sound with the film. And what was that? In the 1890s. So there were experiments off and on right up through the 1920s, and then finally 1927, where it started to become conventional and really movies, by 1928, 29, there was still silence, but a lot of sound. And by 1930, it was almost entirely sound movies. Let me go down a little further. Oh yeah, Ward. Mr. O'Connor insisted that Miss Stapleton get equal credit in the opening over CBS's objection due to Edith being the needed conscience for Archie. It's very interesting. There was a talk show appearance. It's on YouTube. Donnie and Marie Osmond used to have a talk show, and they had Carol O'Connor and Gene Stapleton. I think it was the last time they ever appeared together. And Carol O'Connor said the Archie Bunker character would not have worked without Edith. And it's so true, because Archie could be so intensely abrasive and at times unsympathetic. And it was Edith who balanced him. She was the counterbalance. Edith, who was just all heart and empathy to his abrasiveness. And boy, she balanced him out. And I remember a story Gene Stapleton told on a talk show. She went to Norman Lear and said, I'm having a little trouble with this character, because how can this woman take all of this abuse from Archie and still love him like she does and acquiesce? And Norman Lear said the key to playing Edith is that Edith, when she looks at Archie, she always sees that young man she fell in love with, that beautiful young man she fell in love with. And she always sees that in Archie, no matter what. And I thought, wow, that's profound, because that helped me to understand my mother and father, because there was kind of a reversal where my mother was more like Archie Bunker. My mother could be horrible to my father, mean and insulting and abusive, and henpecked him. And my father loved her and adored her. As a kid, I couldn't understand it. How do you take all this cruelty from mom? How do you do it? And it was after my mother died, my father finally opened up about how, when they were first dating, and how beautiful my mother was, and how sweet she was, and charming, and how proud my father was. Because frankly, she was out of my father's league. My father was kind of just a simple country bumpkin. He wasn't especially an attractive guy or anything more. My mother looked like Ava Gardner. She was beautiful. And he was so proud and honored. And I realized that was it. Like that thing about Archie and Edith. My father always saw that woman. Even when my mother would, frankly, was not beautiful anymore. She put on a lot of weight and she turned really mean and bitter. My father saw that beautiful young woman. And that's what carried him, because I couldn't understand. As a kid, I used to think, well, when my mother passes, it's going to liberate my father and he'll be free. No, my father was devastated. He was devastated, and I quickly understood why. Anyway, Renee, thank you for a wonderful, fun night. I take care, everyone, in love and light. Yeah, I see people are signing out here also. And anyway, I'm reaching in the comments here. It's almost 7:30, and as much as I love and appreciate every one of you, I do have an evening of work and preparation for the show with Whimsy tomorrow and some art assignments that I've got to address tonight. But anyway, I thank you. I thank you for joining me on this show. It means a lot to me that you come through for me through the thick and the thin. Even when I miss a show, you still come back. So I thank you very much. And I will do my best to be here next week. Same time, same place. And of course, watch for me Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Oracle Whimsy channel. Dr. Whimsy Anderson and I do a show together called Taco Tuesdays and Hot Topics Thursdays. Very different from this because we talk about a lot of news stories and hot topics and do some channel readings for people. And we love it very much. And we will see you then. Okay, I was looking over, comments are still coming in, but I've got to go. Okay, and I see the hearts coming my way. And sending hearts your way too. Okay, bye for now.